Ajnanagrastam Brahma Gurureva Samshaya Yukara Pratamo Varno Mayati Gurabhasata Yukaro Dvitiyo Brahma Maya Pranti Vinashana Evam Guru Param Shreshtam Evanamati Gurava Ahavu Ganisheva Vandarisha Kapujyate Bhavante Shanti Sarvesham Naksitan Vanguram Param Asanam Sarinam Vasam Dushanam Vanadikam Sadakena Gadadhavyam Guru Santosha Karakam Guru Anandanam Karyam Sadivivam Nivedaye Karmana Manasavata Nityamaranare Guru Yevanandam Namasurya Niranur Samidam Shariram Vindriyam Pranam Sadguru Nivedaye Atmadanarikam Sarvam Sadguru Nivedaye Namikita Vasavisar Durgati Malam Muktakam Srestam Bhaktam Satsam Vamsam Archayena Varanane Samsara Vrksamaruda Vatanto Narakarnave Vedantaivo Murta Sarve Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Guru Brahma Guru Vishnu Guru Devo Maheshwara Guru Reva Parabrahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Etave Jagatameva Samsaranam Setave Bhagave Sarva Vidyanam Shambhave Gurave Namah Ajnanate Mirandasya Jnanajana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Amritarvantame Mata Tvam Devata Tantavarvadipurartam Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Yatsatena Jagat Satyam Yaprakashena Bhaktita Yadanandena Nandanti Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Yasya Sina Satyamedam Radhadivan Rupata Iyam Buddha Iyam Vidya Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Yena Chaita Ete Idam Nikam Chaita Ete Layam Tathratmanna Shishupyadi Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Yasya Jnana Nidam Vishwam Nadrisham Vina Vedata Sadekara Garbhaya Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Yasya Matam Tasya Matam Matam Yasya Nivedasa Anatma Bhava Bhavaya Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Yasya Karana Rupasya Tasmat sarva prayatena Shri Gurum Sharanam Vraje. Gurureva jagat sarvam Brahma Vishnu Shivatmakam Guru Bharataram Nasti Tasmat Sambuddhaye Guru Jnana Vijnana Sahitam Labhyate Guru Bhaktitaha Guru Bharataram Nasti Yeyo Guru Margini Tasmat Bharataram Nasti Nedi Nedi Vaishuddhi Manasa Vajta Chaiva Satyamahadaye Guru Guru Kripa Prasadena Brahma Vishnu Sadansiva Samartha Prabhavadocha Kevalam Guru Sevaya Deva Kinnara Gandharva Vittaro Yaksha Sadhana Unayo Virnadanante Guru Shushisha Devini Mahangara Garvena Tapo Vidyavalampita Samsara Gurvarte Bhaktayantre Yathagata Namukta Deva Gandharva Vittaro Yaksha Kinnara Rishaya Sarvasiddhasa Guru Seva Paramita Jnana Sundar Mahadevi Sarvananda Pradayaka Sarva Sokya Karam Nitya Mukti Mukti Vidayaka Srimad Parabrahma Guru Smarami Srimad Parabrahma Guru Vadami Srimad Parabrahma Guru Namami Srimad Parabrahma Guru Bhajami Brahmanandam Paramasukhanam Kevalam Jnanamurti Vadvatitam Gagana Sadrisham Tattvamasya Vilaksham Ekam Nityam Vimalamachalam Sarvati Sakshi Bhutam Bhavatitam Trigunarahitam Sadgurum Namami Nityam Chitam Niravasam Nirakaram Niranjanam Nityamuram Chidanandam Guru Brahmanamamyam Namo Jai Karnika Maya Sanse Srimad जपे सदा गुरु गीता चले काम च मंत्र जान्नि मम जपे अये चार वेदा मंत्र कलंदरांति सोरसी आनंदा पालवन्नोति गुरु गीता जपे च सर्व पाप शमनम् सर्वदा वेदनाशनम् काल मृत्यु भयानम् सर्व संकट नाशनम् यक्ष रक्षस भूतानां चोर व्याघ्र भयापहम् महाज्ञानी हरं सर्वं विभूति सिद्धिदं भवेत् आत्मानं वश्यं सर्वमेव जपे सदा अष्टसाने चतारीरम् आशने रोगसम्भवात् वैरिण्यं दुःखमप्नोति कस्य भवति निष्फलम् कृष्णाजिरे ज्ञानसिद्धिर्मोक्षसिद्ध्यै प्रचण्डने कृष्णसने ज्ञानसिद्धिः सर्वसिद्धिर्सुखं भवेत् दुर्वया देवी आसने शुभ्रकम्बले शुभविद्या देवी अमेधिकागमानसा प्रियं शुभं प्रसन्नार्थं स्वस्तिरक्तस्नदं प्रिये अभिचारे कृष्णवर्णं इन्द्रवर्णं ददामि उत्तरे शान्तिकामस्तु अस्य पूर्वं भोजमे दक्षिणे मरणं प्रोक्तं पश्चिमे चारणागमः मोहनं सर्वभूतानां मोक्षकरं भवेत् देवराजा प्रियकरं सर्व vrata tapang sita Sansara madana shartam Bhavavashani vrindaye Guru Gita vasisnana Advadya Gurute sada Sare vacha Guru sakshat Tadasa brahma viddama Tasya sthanani sarvani Pavitrani na samshaya Sarva siddha pavitrasa Svabhavadyatra tishati Tatra deva dana sarve Kshetre pite vasanti Asana satsayanova Raksasi samvaranami Asarula rasarula Sukhavasalakopiva Rushishvanta sadagyani Guru Gita javenatu Tassa darshana matrena Vimajamma vidyate Samudre chayata toyam Siddham siddham grite gritaha Ille kumbe yatakasha Tatama paramatmani Mate vadyani vivatma Paramatmani vidate Aikyena ramate jnani Tatra tatra divanisha Evam vido mahamukta Sarvada vartate buddha Tatra sarvadayatena Bhavabhakti karotyam Sarva sande arahito Mukta bhavati parvati Mukti mukti dvayam tasya Jivagrecha saraswati Anena pranina sarve Guru Gita japenatu Sarva siddhim prabhuvanti Mukti mukti na samshaya Satyam satyam punar satyam Dharmam satyam vayoditam Guru Gita samam nasti Satyam satyam varanane Eka deva eka dharma Eka nishta param sabha Guru parantaram nanya Nasti tatmam guru param Mata danya dita danyo Danyo vacha pulantuta Danya cha vasudha devi Guru bhakti sudurlabha Kalinam indriyam pranam Sarva sarjana bandhava Mata pita kulam devi Gureva na samshaya Apakaja mara punya Jagavrata tapakya Tatsavam sakhalam devi Guru santoshamatruta Vidyatapo vare deva Mandavadyase naram Guru sevana kurvanti Satyam satyam varanane Brahma Vishnu Maheshasha Devashi Vishnu Kindara Siddhartha Yakshasha Animi Nayojana Guru Bhava Varam Tirtham Anya Tirtham Nirarthakam Sarvatitra Sayo Devi Param Guksham Chavartate Yapena Jayamam Noti Chananta Phalamamriyat Sati Sadhgurunad Maharaj Ki Jai. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Sunday morning Satsang, a time when we come together to silence the mind, quiet the mind, take a break from the mind, to learn, to study, and to be completely bathed in that Guru's grace and that which comes from our sadhana and taking the time to practice. I'm really, really excited to announce that what we're going to be seeing today is a prelude of what is to come for 2021. And that is that when Gurudev was in residence here, we had 6 different interviewers interview him with a very varied, lots of variety of question and answers. And all of them are completely different. The questions are different, the topics are different, and so what it provides to all of us is really, really so much to take in, so much to contemplate, and so many of the subjects are completely appropriate for our times today. But the interviews, each one was also in a different location in the ashram, so you'll have darshan of the ashram here at Shanti Mandir Walden. But I have to say, they're all gems, every single one of them. So we're all going to have the great fortune to hear all of the different interviewers as we go along, their questions and Gurudev's answers. So the first one today, and a lot of the interviews are quite long and extended, so they'll be in 2 parts. So each satsang, or not each satsang, but when we have Gurudev's talk for the month, his video, it'll be in 2 parts. So today we'll be watching part 1, and each time I'll give a little bio on that particular person so that you'll know who it is who's behind the voice and the camera for the questions. So this is Marty Katz. Marty Katz met Muktananda in 1978 and immediately chose Siddhi Yoga as his spiritual path. Marty is committed to Gurudev as a profoundly gifted and giving guide for self-discovery and growth. He is deeply grateful for the time he spends in Gurudev's presence and is honored to have been chosen as an interviewer. Anderson Cooper, watch out. Professionally, Marty is a marketing consultant specializing in branding. He is married, has 2 sons, and 1 grandson. He lives in Manhattan and loves to get away to Shanti Mandir for long weekends of meditation, study, and camaraderie, plus chai, obviously. So we're going to be watching part 1 of his interview. And also I want to take this opportunity to let everyone know that translation is available in Spanish on the Shanti Mandir Spanish YouTube channel. So you do need to click on that link to go there. So you can do that now, and you'll have the entire interview translated into Spanish for all of you. So enjoy and relish that which is in the answers, the question and answers. It's really, really a great treat for all of us, and it really brings a lot of promise and inspiration, encouragement, and tools and techniques for our sadhana going into 2021. So enjoy. Sadhgurunad Maharaj Ki Jai.
Gurudev, many people are feeling anxious about COVID, climate change, and economic uncertainties, among many other challenges. What can we do to keep the vision of ourselves as positive and life-affirming and still be grounded in the realities of the world around us?
Wonderful question, I think, for our times today. The pandemic, as it's called, which affects people all over the world. And I don't think there is any specific country or any specific place or city that could say, I mean, of course, you read in the news, there's an island here or there that doesn't have it. But what I would say is that we as humans are always afraid of the unknown. Because we don't know. So because I don't know how to react or respond to it. So either we deny it, or we accept it, or we constantly have doubts whether I'm accepting, whether I'm not accepting. So it's true of any situation in life that we run into that we don't know what to do. So the Ayurvedic doctor in India told me that this is a man-made sickness. So none of our books talk about this sickness. So we don't really have, herbs or any therapies that we could recommend that would help. But both the Indian Ayurvedic system and the Chinese medicine talk about sicknesses come from the gut. That when I have food in my system that's undigested, that's not being processed, that's why we talk about gut feeling. So there is a brain in the gut, not brain as we think of brain, but a process. So when our central system, which is the belly, is good, then we are healthy. So if my belly in itself has issues, so then they say what happens is that there are parts of the body which are weaker than the others. So the body is always at work protecting itself from epidemics and pandemics. And so when the gut is not well and it needs healing, or the back is not well and it needs healing, so then the body stops sending energy to the place which is weak. So when the place that's weak is not getting what it needs from the body, then it gives in. So we can call it the immune system, we can call it, however the doctors want to call it. So why we do a healthy diet, why we do exercise and all of this is so that the blood circulation, the energy movement, the breath, all of this is all throughout the body. For those who have done acupuncture, you can go to the good acupuncturist and say to him or her, I have pain here. So he says, okay, he looks at the tongue, he looks at the pulse, or whatever the new methods are nowadays, and then puts the needles somewhere totally different. And when you do it for the first time, you say, hello, hello, the pain is here, and they say, it's okay, I understand. The pain here is simply a reflection of something else that's happening somewhere else. So when I first looked at this, I thought, wow. For example, kinesiology is the same way. So with regards to COVID, I would say to people all over the world that what we need to do is first look at our overall health and how we can make it better. So which then goes to food. And I think what we have done is we have so many prepared foods nowadays versus making fresh foods at home. For the last 20 or 30 years, you've heard about don't sit in front of the television and eat, eat consciously. Don't just zap your food and eat. Slowly cook. We have now slow cookers that cook over time. So all of these things, I think, affect the climate, affect the human being, and thus make us weak for sickness to come into the body. For example, we hear about allergies, spring allergies, summer allergies. I don't know about fall allergies yet or winter allergies. But I think what we have done is we have closed ourselves inside a room, inside a building, and we don't have any fresh air. So when we've built a couple of buildings here in Walden in the last few years, one of the things that the engineers have talked about is that, especially in the winter months, or if we have air conditioning, that we need to recirculate the air. When we fly in an airplane, they talk about how every 20 minutes the air is recirculated. So if I'm breathing in the same air, then what a yogi would say is you are not getting fresh prana, fresh vital force. So if I don't go out into nature and don't breathe in oxygen, for example, in India, we have trees that are worshipped. And when you think about it, why is it being worshipped? Somewhere along the way, you read that this tree gives oxygen. And it's good for you. So if the sage just tells you that, okay, this tree gives you oxygen, one might say, so what? But in India, I feel that what the sages did, whatever was good for the human being, they tied it into some religious or spiritual, aspect of life. So people go and worship the tree, people go and sit under the tree, people hang out by the tree, not realizing what they are getting is oxygen, which is what the human body needs. They think I'm doing this worship, which will give me a long life. Why will it give me a long life? Because it's the tree that gives me oxygen. So I think what modern society needs to do is find the teachings in the ancient culture and then affirm it with science. Science can do it, all its machine research. Of course, Baba Muktananda would talk about that the machines cannot reach that subtle place. And machines can reach up to a certain point, and then that's it. So what my suggestion to people would be is, instead of just getting filled with fear and panic, let's understand, well, what is it that's happening? Why is it that am I sick? Why is it that I'm constantly falling sick? So we created a 2-3 page document for people to read from the time I wake up till through the day and as I go to sleep. What are the kind of food I should eat, I should avoid? When should I drink water? When should I eat my fruits? Because we just sometimes mix it all. So when we mix it all and it goes inside the system, it doesn't all work the way nature intended. I mean, the human body is complex. So I am just amazed sometimes when I look at pictures and I see how we have this 20-foot plus intestine in ourselves, and how, when you understand how this process works inside. So if I can understand all that, thus make my life healthy first, and then I think all of these pandemics and epidemics and allergies and all of that will not affect me as much. I mean, they'll still affect me because I'm sure somewhere within me there's a weakness, but it will not affect me as much. So one of the other thing was economic uncertainties. I believe that everybody should be able to work and earn money. But what's happening in our society today is a small group at the top is making all the money, and then the middle part is making some money, and the lower part is barely getting anything. So if we can somehow spread it so that everybody gets, something or the other, and society itself has to work that out. That, okay, you are here. Baba Muktananda would share a story. That's why you are what you are. So your understanding is this much, so you play this role, and that's what you earn. Your understanding is a little bit more, so you're a little up in society. Your understanding is more, a little bit up. So each person has his or her role in society based on his or her understanding. And accordingly, they should get their share. And just because I am smart or brilliant, I should not hog the whole thing. I should not take away, and just realize and think to myself, how can I share this in society. So the way I look at it is today we are into making life easy. And in making life easy, we've made online a big way to get things. And so small businesses are closing down. People who are actually out of work are suffering. So I think what as a society we need to look at is how can we keep everybody working? Because everybody needs to work for two reasons, I would say. One is, of course, money, but the other is for their mental health. One needs to go out, one needs to be with people, one needs to just, mill around and all of those various things that need to happen. And I think when we think about a small shop or a business owner who treats the business as his or her own, I think there's less wastage also, because he or she doesn't want to throw out his or her dollar. So he's conscious about it. Plus, he treats that place as his temple. That business office is his temple. It's not just a shop. It's not just a company or not just a factory. His customers are his guests, whom he welcomes, is nice to them, is kind to them. In India and some countries around the world, I know when a good customer comes, they offer them some tea or something to drink, sometimes a snack, and a little conversation between the salesperson and the customer. And I always tell people I think of it as retail therapy. That you go there for a moment, all of the stress of your life, everything is gone, and then you purchase, you don't purchase, that's a different matter. And employees in such a small business are also treated as humans. They are not just a number on just a punch card that comes in and out. And there's people who deliver, who know the employees, who know the owner, who know everybody. So I believe that there's a human touch to all of that. And I see that going away now. And I think part of the situation or problems we have in life today is this, that one, COVID is not helping this at all because it's creating a distance, masks and all of that. So we were already further away from each other. And now it's like, hey, put your mask on. Hey, stay away, don't come close. So all of a sudden it's like, oh my God. I don't know how it is working out with families in these kinds of situations. I know parents who are not able to see their children or their grandchildren, or children who won't allow their own children, which is the grandchildren, to see the grandparents, and all of this. Okay, they're doing it through whatever modern communication methods are there, but it's not the same as being able to touch, or feel. Like somebody said the other day, I miss my hug. They miss, it's an emotional need of a human, So I think through COVID, through all of these economic uncertainties, and all of the various situations we find ourselves in, I think the question is, how can we remain positive and life affirming? I think we have to believe in ourselves, and believe that everyone out there is good. Nobody's really here to harm each other. No one is a machine. It's a breathing, blood flowing, life moving consciousness. And so here, the teaching of Kashmir Shaivism, to look at everyone as consciousness and everyone playing their role, I think that's important. So I would say that's what needs to happen, and that's why I tell people, make sure you stay in contact with someone, different friends, family, even if you're not going out of the apartment or the home for whatever the reasons may be, at least through the modern communication methods, keep in touch, stay in touch. Because at least if you talk, sometimes, will come up about conversations,
I'm inspired to ask a question about that has to do with self-care. It sounds like a lot of what you're talking about is the increased importance of self-care, physically, mentally,
emotionally,
in every area of your life, with your family, your spiritual journey. I think that, I think it's important for people to really to take a look at self-care, not take it for granted so much. Because I think that we have taken it for granted. You can just see somebody, call somebody, you can eat whatever you want, it doesn't really matter. And so now, if you could talk a little bit about your vision of self-care, because if you need to start, it seems to me, with unconditional love of self. That's self-care. So how can we do that? Because we're so distracted by so many different other things. You can kind of give us your point of view about that.
Well, we come to Baba Muktananda's message: meditate on yourself, honor yourself, respect yourself, worship yourself. God dwells within you as you. So his message was, instead of looking out there for happiness and peace and contentment, look inside. Respect yourself, honor yourself, worship yourself. He would say the biggest mistake we make as humans is to think poorly of oneself. To think lowly of oneself. And I think part of the reason we see suicide today, for example, or depression, is that one doesn't love oneself. If I love myself, no matter how desperate I get, I won't do anything damaging to myself. And so I think this message of the self, of Atman, of consciousness, needs to be given to children from when they are young. So that as they grow up, they realize, okay, I have a human body, but within this human body is something far greater, which is consciousness. And when we talk about conscience, or there is a voice within me which speaks, that voice is the voice of consciousness. And what I feel is that the whole system of education today is like a mold. I want to make a cupcake. I have a tray, I have a mold, and I can make 12 similar cupcakes. And we're doing that to children. We're sending them to school, the teacher standing in the front of the room and saying, okay, Marty, John, Sheila, listen to me. I'm going to tell all of you. But, one might be a dreamer, one might be an artist, one might be an intellectual, one might be up to mischief. One might just think all of this is a joke, 10 or 20 of us, 30 of us in a classroom. Each one is individual. Each one is different. And so one teacher just trying to force that thought process is not going to work. And then we decide, okay, these people don't get it, these people get it, and these people are brilliant. So from childhood, we have, created this love-hate or like-dislike, known unknown in the child. So he's growing up with these thoughts and with these feelings, So there's this confusion because of that. So I think somehow, I've been trying to think about this for the past 20 years because we run a Sanskrit school and now we run an English medium school, is how do we bring about this change in our whole system where the child from being little learns about self-care, self-love, self-acceptance, and the message of Baba Muktananda: honor yourself, respect yourself, worship yourself. So, all of the Vedic teachings for human beings is really about living a good life. So, from the time you wake up in India, we are taught, you say a verse that God exists here in my hands, God exists in this body, God exists upon this earth. So before I even get out of bed, I'm supposed to say this verse, and so I connect to that divinity. Then I go about doing my morning routine. Then I go to my temple, I light a lamp, I light an incense, I put some flowers, I take a moment, I pray, I connect again to that divinity. The mother who's making breakfast or the grandmother who's making breakfast has already done these things. And the food that's made is offered to whatever deity, guru, God the family believes in, and then it's taken or partaken as prasad. as something that's blessed. So it's not something I'm just going to gobble down into my system, but I'm going to consciously appreciate the efforts of my family, who has gotten up a little bit earlier than I have to prepare this nice, warm, delicious prasad or blessed food. So I leave home happy as a child. I leave home happy as a family member. And I still to this day remember, not every day, but days when my father and my siblings and I walked out of home, him to go to work, us to go to school, and all of us excited for that which we had done yesterday. But the mother in the morning, in a disciplined way, and the father had knowingly or unknowingly instructed us on how we should be. There was no rush because everything was planned, everything was, prepped and ready. So throughout the day, you carried that feeling with you. So when you met up with the school friends, when you met up with their teachers, when you met up with whoever, colleagues at work, you carried that, what Bhagwan Nityananda called Shuddha Bhavana, a pure feeling. That pure feeling remained with you. So throughout the day, even if you got irritated or your friends had fights or you had fights, you'd always remind yourself, don't get caught in this. This is trouble. And if you had the teachings of consciousness, of the self, of the Atman, then somehow that came alive in that moment. It's not necessarily that you sat and meditated, but you just realized, I'm becoming petty. And I feel this is what's missing in what we're teaching our children today, in what we as adults are also missing. We are becoming petty. We don't need to be petty. We can be big. We can be like the ocean, is how I feel. Why be a small drop? Why be a small pond? Be the flowing lake, the flowing river. Be the big ocean. And if I can remember this all 12 to 14 to 16 hours of the day, I think I have made it. But I forget. My mind becomes small. I become petty. I fight. I argue. And then if I eat my meals with that feeling, then more of that goes into my blood, So when you talk about self-care, this is a great method of self-care. Respect yourself, honor yourself, worship yourself. And then when you do that, then you automatically reciprocate or reflect that towards others. So if I don't do that to myself, I cannot do that to others. And so all of the training that we see in workplaces now is how to be nice, how to be friendly. So how can I teach my child who is little to do that, His sibling wants the pillow. His sibling wants the candy, She needs, he needs, whatever. You say, okay, you know what? Have it. It's amazing. Sometimes in Magod, just during this lockdown period, one child had a birthday one day. It's maybe all of 3 years old. And we had brought chocolate. It was 175 of us in the room. We had satsang. And I said to him, okay, can you distribute this to everybody? I mean, imagine a 3-year-old child is holding a bowl. And technically, I would think he would want to eat first. And he would, and I watched him because I thought, this is an experiment. For me, which is what it became. It started out as just a funny joke. Let's see if the child can go around and distribute chocolate. And I thought he did very well. He went around the whole room. And I said, did anyone miss out? And somebody in the middle of the room raised their hand because somehow Charlie missed out. And he went, he gave. And then he came back and there was a few left. And I said, how many do you want? And he just took one. So it's possible, like we train a dog, we train an animal, we could train a child. But we have to start young. But if you remember the story, it's attributed to Gandhi, it's attributed to other people around the world, great people, that a mother goes and tells the person, my child eats too much chocolate. And so, can you tell him not to eat so much chocolate because the doctor said it's not good? So the person says, can you come back in 2 weeks? So the mother comes back in 2 weeks with the child. And 2 weeks, he says to the child, don't eat too much chocolate. And the child says, okay. So the mother says, why didn't you say this 2 weeks ago? Why did I have to wait 2 weeks? He said, because first I had to stop eating chocolate. I myself ate a lot of chocolate, or I myself ate a lot of sugar, myself ate a lot of ice cream, or I myself have too much chai or coffee or whatever it is that I'm doing. So first I had to bring self-control into my own life. And once I brought self-control into my own life, then I could tell the child that, do this. We read a quote the other day from Morgan Freeman, I think. I'll share that. Self-control is strength. Calmness is mastery. You have to get to a point where your mood doesn't shift based on the insignificant actions of someone else. Don't allow others to control the direction of your life. Don't allow your emotions to overpower your intelligence. So, all of this needs to be taught to our children from the beginning. So as he or she grows up, and in the rebellious years of the teenager, somewhere these things live, these things exist, And we have Devyani's niece who's come quite a few times to the ashram in the last few years. She's now 21, and she's still here, visiting for almost 6 weeks. Now you would wonder, what would a white American girl love about an ashram? But her mother was in the Kumbh Mela in 1998 with her in the tummy. And then Devyani was there present when she was born. I visited her shortly thereafter. And then she's come regularly to the ashram over the years. And now she has created her own independent connection to the ashram, to her aunt. And so something about the ashram. And I always tell people, as a child, we don't really know what the Guru is, what God is. We don't really know anything, but we love the feeling. But I tell people, you as a parent first need to appreciate that. The child will then pick it up. The child will, then you have to foster that in the child and then make the child appreciate that. And then the child, him or her, will develop its own connection. And that is important. So then somewhere along they will understand, meditate on your own self, honor your own self, worship your own self, respect your own self. So I tell people, this body is now 58 years old. So it's 58 years of walking along this path, talking to people, listening, reading, contemplation, which has brought all of these thoughts today.
Gurudev, it has become increasingly difficult to have hard conversations about race, ethnicity, and political differences. What steps can we take to encourage people to have these conversations as a way to heal divisions and generate harmony?
Well, what we as humans forget is the discussion or the conversation is what are the issues, whether it is race, politics, business, whatever. So we have to remember that the conversation or discussion is on an issue. Instead, we make it a blame game. Are you trying to tell me? Am I trying to tell you? Or are we trying to blame anybody in the room? So we all become defensive. Whereas I think, the word I think I hear is think tank. That if we all, as a family, as friends, as colleagues, as whatever we think of ourselves as, teammates, could realize that we're simply having a conversation. Today is cloudy. Today is sunny. Today is raining. Today it's hot. Today it's cold. It's simply a conversation. And we could have a conversation of why is it like this? Or, and I always tell people a conversation is important. Therefore, Devyani has a book called Conversations. And a conversation is like, for example, today we've run out of time because one has to go to a meeting, one has to go to work, or one has to go to the bathroom, one has to go for a meal or meditate, whatever it is that one has to do. So we can, as you say in English, hold the thought. So I tell people the conversation can have a comma, not a period, not a full stop. It's not the end. And in the Indian tradition of scriptural study, it's Shravana, which is listening. It's Manana, which is contemplation. It's Nididhyasana, which is imbibing. So I go to the Guru, I listen, I ponder over it. And by pondering over it, I have more questions or more thoughts. I come back, I listen more, I ask more. So all of our scriptures you will see are actually dialogues. For example, in the Guru Gita is Shri Parvati Vacha, Shri Mahadeva Vacha, Deva Vacha, Sutta Vacha, which means Marty asks, Devyani asks, Dipanshu asks, John asks, Mary asks, Baba asks, Bhagwan asks, and then, or Bhagwan replies, Baba replies, the Guru replies. So we have a question, like Satsangs with Baba, for example, Baba Muktadan, there's 5 volumes. And different people in the ashram have asked these questions. Sometimes Baba himself had a question that he wanted asked on behalf of everyone. So that also was done. And that was said. So basically that means conversations are important. Dialogues are important. We cannot become defensive and say, I am right. The way I look at it is I tell people, a house has, say, windows in all 4 directions. So a person who lives on the eastern window says the sun rises. The person who lives on the western window says, no, the sun sets. Now, if you live where you can see both, you can say they're both right. So the sun rises, the sun sets. But then science would say the sun doesn't rise or set because the earth is simply going around. But in the way we see it, it looks like it rises and sets. And that's what happens to us. We get caught. Baba Muktananda would say, take away the blinders. See it for what it is. So what is the world, really? What is life? It is what I make of it. Devyani always says, be grand. See the consciousness, see the oneness. And I say, it's difficult. There's somebody I don't like. Somebody who I think is stupid or foolish or idiotic, How do I see the God in that person? And so that's part of the training as a spiritual person, to develop that and realize that it's not that there is no consciousness, that consciousness does not exist in them, but they have their blinders on. Or they are, not aware of that divinity in them. And so what has happened in our society today is we have become isolated. We are surrounded by technology, but really we are isolated. Justin Bieber, whom I don't know much about, but looking up this word lonely, there is a song he sings which says, everybody knows my name, but something about it still feels strange. Looking in the mirror, steady yourself, seeing somebody else, everything is not the same. Lives have changed. Maybe when I'm older, it will all calm down, but it's killing me now. What if you had it all, but no one to call? Maybe then you'd know, because I've had everything, but no one's listening, and that's just lonely. I am so lonely. I am so lonely. Everyone knows my past. It's like my house is made of glass. That's the price you pay for money and fame at an early age. Everyone saw me sick. No one gave a, they criticized all the things that this idiot kid had done. But what if you have everything, but no one to call? Maybe then you'd know, because I've had everything, no one's listening, that it's just lonely. I'm so lonely, lonely. And therefore, I think conversations are important. And so even if you work with somebody big, famous, whatever, whenever possible, I think it's necessary that we reach the human in them. And I always tell Devyani, that's the beauty of what she's able to do and what she has done for the past 40 plus years within Shanti Mandir, for those who are able to open up. Because again, when I'm lonely, I've been hurt or I'm angry, so I am closed also at the same time. I know that something has taken place. And so oftentimes I think when I react out of anger to a conversation, it's not really that I am reacting to what you are saying. I'm reacting to a mental issue or mental state that's within myself. And science agrees upon this, that loneliness is actually a state of mind. It's not something external, because loneliness causes you to feel empty, feel alone, feel unwanted. People crave human contact. We have Nirguna, who's 88 years old, who says, I like alone. I like to be alone. But we've seen her when she's with people, she can talk, she can eat, she can have so much fun. I don't want to be here. But then an hour later, you still find her there. And you say, what are you doing? Well, I just saw, so and so, and we were just talking. So that means really what we want is to be with other humans. So it's not about that I want to be alone, I want to be isolated, but it's just the mind which plays this game. And so I think what we as humans need to understand, that this is actually a very complex situation we find ourselves in today. It's very unique. And like I tell people, the problem today we might think has to do with politics, has to do with business, has to do with all of these things. No. The problem has to do with individual issues. And those individual issues are not being taken care of. And so I thought, if somehow, what Baba Muktananda created back in the 70s, we had 30 ashrams, we had about 350 homes where satsang was held. And this is back in the 70s. People came weekly, and if there was an ashram, they came once or twice a week, or maybe every day, or maybe throughout the day. Somebody just to sweep, somebody to mop, somebody to cook, somebody to work in the office. Whatever it was that needed to be done. People misunderstood it, and maybe still misunderstand it. But I think what it did was it created a community. There are people who still, it's almost 38 years since he left his body, who are still friends, who may not be part of the ashram, who may not be part of the physical foundation or organization, but they, two or few, whatever, are still friends who still get together, still have meals, maybe still sometimes have chants, or if a chant or something is organized, will show up to a satsang. So I think we need to figure out a way, a method of how this could be done. Not necessarily make it cliquish or make it cultish, but just a space. I often share that when my father died, it was, I think the year was 2004, the husband of a cousin of mine said to me, who will I talk to now? Who will I visit now? Who will I come hang out with? Their age difference was probably 40 years, but yet he loved coming there, sitting there. And I'm sure it's not that it always was great, big discussions, but sometimes just simple things. I mean, I love that about the ashram. We have the morning and evening chants. We have the morning breakfast, the noon lunch, and the evening chai or dinner. And there are people around the community here and in Magod and in Haridwar and soon in Ganeshpuri who just know if I go to the Shanti Mandir at this time, I'll get my chant, I'll get my meal, I'll get my fix, I'll get to have a conversation, I'll get to meet. And they know one thing Baba Muktananda taught us is your doors have to be open. You have to be welcoming. And as I remember, I don't know, it was Paul Zweigel who said in one of their talks, the door swings in just as easily as it swings out. So you can come in, you can go. Nobody's stopping you. And that is a feeling of welcome. I remember, if anyone remembers, sometime in the 90s, we were down in a little village in Tamil Nadu, in India, South India. Every morning, we had to open the door by 6 a.m. There was a rule of that, unsaid rule of that village. So you were showered, you were ready, and this girl would walk in and go, "Sister!" So their job then was to get together. The door had just been opened, sweep the front, and draw a rangoli. Rangoli is this pattern, which is wonderful. So it welcomes the sun. Most Indian homes of the early days had the eastern sun coming in through their front door, which is what we have in this building in Srinivas. The sun comes in, and along with that, there is that rangoli welcoming the sun, the light into the home. So all of the bacteria of the night and the darkness of the night, the sun would, because as soon as there is light, we don't ask where is the darkness. But what we have done in our society today, I think, is we have forgotten to worship the light. So one of the things I tell people on the birthday cake, when you light the candle, don't blow it out. Or at least don't blow all of it out. Because we sing the song, Jyota se Jyota jagao. Light my candle from your candle. So when you have a cake and you blow all, of course now probably because of COVID, there's no more blowing. But, we have to be conscious of this because we might think no big deal. It's just blowing a candle out, blowing the light out. But somewhere in your psyche, you're bringing darkness. So in regards to your question of what can we do to have these hard conversations, I think education is important. And to make people realize division is not good. United we stand, divided we fall. So what has happened in the world today is that these divisions have been fed. So we need business leaders, we need political leaders, we need community leaders, we need all these kinds of leaders who bring the flock together. And at the end of the day, I believe it's what we want is not, this party or this politician or that politician. We just want somebody who brings harmony. And when I think of the satsangs with Baba Muktananda, and especially audience shots, I love in any situation because, okay, you can hear the speaker, but when you look at the face of the audience and see their, wish, their desire, their want for love, and then sometimes a tear or two or tears flowing, smiles and joy and laughter. And that's one of the things I think we need to learn to laugh with the entire being. We go, hey, and then we finish. But when you look at some great people and you see the entire being laughing, you realize that's joy. That's ananda, that's bliss. And I feel that with such people, you can actually have any kind of conversation because they don't take it personally. They realize that you have come with the thought or idea that I might be able to solve this dilemma. And I don't have to take it personally. The questioner does not have to take it personally. It's just a conversation. And I think we say, how is it? It's okay to agree, not to agree. You know, we agree that we may not agree. As Devani said one day, I might like Indian, she might like Italian, you might like Chinese or Jewish or American. You know, each one of us, you know, like for example in the ashram when we cook, we have spicy, we have medium spicy, we have non-spicy, we have fried, we have non-fried. You know, like a restaurant does too. You know, you have all of these options. You have cooked, you have salads, you have raw, you have, you know, because each one of us is unique. So if we can have conversations like that, that would be wonderful.
You know, as a kind of a follow-up to that, and you've touched on some of this, but I was wondering, I see relationships as a garden. And they need nurturing. You have to weed, you have to fertilize, you have to water, you have to harvest at the appropriate time, you have to prune. All these things that we have to do in our relationships. And that's what I feel that produces the best outcome for everybody, for the garden itself, for the earth, for the people who consume. So one of the things that I find challenging is how do we as adults ongoingly find a way to nurture our relationships, because we have so many and we're so distracted by business or other activities in our lives. What can we do to really make it as a practice, in addition to meditation, of course, and chanting, obviously? What can we do to really find methodologies or practices to really nurture our critical relationships, not casual relationships, but vital relationships?
I would simply say that if you remember the first days of falling in love, and remind yourself again and again that that's the feeling that's important. And falling in love, actually, people say is not the right way to say, because you don't want to fall, but you be in love. You know, when I think of my times with Baba Muktananda, for example, and of course there are all of those variables that you talked about, but what remains is the wonderful feeling and experience. So I connect to that. Whenever I find my mind in a strange place, I remind myself that really, if I could just now go there, to that elevated, elated, excited, you know. And I think I tell people, pictures and statues and all this just remind you of that, those moments, of those times. What did that being stand for? Whether it's a picture of a parent, whether it's a picture of somebody you love, you know, of a sibling. It's, you want to feel that feeling. So I think in any personal relationships that we have every single day, Devani's grandparents gave a mantra and some other elderly people gave a mantra, which is, at the end of the day, you must make peace. And that's important. Not to carry over the nonsense, whatever that nonsense is, to the next day. So when you wake up the next day, it's as if you're beginning on a new page with no carryover. And I think we forget that so often, because we think, okay, how did I go to sleep last night? I was angry. You know, Baba Muktananda often shared a joke that Nasruddin and his wife have a fight. And they say, whoever speaks first loses the fight. So a thief comes in, steals their whole house. Nasruddin doesn't want to be the one to speak or stop. So his wife says to him, what are you doing watching him steal? He said, look, you spoke first, you lost the fight. So Baba would say, this is how silly or stupid or idiotic we become. You know, I mean, the fight is between us. So all of a sudden, my own home is being robbed. And so am I that stupid that I'm not going to do something about it? And so when we laugh at a story like this, because we think, I would not do that, but we do. May not be a similar situation, but we do silly things. So become bigger, you know, become greater. And how would we do that is that whole concept of consciousness, you know, that in that moment, okay, I can't meditate in that moment. In the middle of a fight, I can't say, wait a moment, I'm going, I can't, because it's just going to make them more angry. So in that moment, while in a way I'm doing that, taking a deep breath, releasing, letting go, but at the same time realizing and accepting that honor yourself, worship yourself, respect yourself, and who is this person? Nothing but an extension of yourself, nothing but an extension of your own consciousness. And so I tell myself that if I love and respect myself, then automatically I love and respect others. And if we also realize that each person plays a role in our life, we all have karmas that we carry with each other, and so we have leftover karma, and so a situation that might irk us now may have nothing to do with now. It is something left over, like sometimes a burp comes up. We may not have eaten for a few hours, yet a burp comes up, But the burp is just whatever is being digested inside, and there was a little bit of air or gas that needed to be burped out from the front end or the back end, and so it has been released. So in a life situation, something like this happens. I'm sorry, but and if it's a burp, we react one way, but in a human situation, we go, "Oh, what was that?" And so I think if we can just sometimes laugh it off or smile it away, I think. But like you said, I think the important thing is weeding, nurturing, watering, fertilizing. And I think that we have to always remember relationships, all relationships, whether it's with an animal, whether it's with a human, whether it's with the garden. You will see that good is something left over. Like sometimes a burp comes up. We may not have eaten for a few hours, yet a burp comes up. The burp is just whatever is being digested inside, and there was a little bit of air or gas that needed to be burped out from the front end or the back end. And so it
concludes our Sunday morning satsang, and I hope you all enjoyed Gurudev's video of his question and answers, and we look forward to the next one, which will be in January. So next week at our satsang here, we'll be having Dana Wilkinson, who will be speaking his concluding talk on Baba's Where Are You Going? So we'll close the year with that, and then we'll see what lies in store for us for the subject for 2021. So stay tuned for that. And until we see you next, oh, one more thing. If there's anybody who wishes to do a gift shop tour via FaceTime, please do contact us here at the ashram email address, which is walden@shantimandir.com, or you can call the landline and you can book a tour so that you can potentially do some online gift shopping here via FaceTime, and we will ship you whatever those gifts are that you wish to have for Christmas. And I think with that, everybody's invited to come up for darshan, followed by lunch prasad down at Namaste. Sadhgurunath Maharaj Ki Jai.